Ladies and gentlemen, we're covering Season 2, Episode 4, Luna Eclipsed, which is the episode in which we first cover Halloween, and Luna shows up, and she's upset, and things are bad, and things are horrible, and then Pinkie's horrible, I want to punch her in her stupid face, and then Luna's amazing, but she's kind of a fish out of water, and she's really adorable, and then the episode ends at the end. This also is the episode that reintroduces Luna as a character. Thank God. She doesn't get as much screen time as Celestia, and if I can be so bold, I think that is a shame, because Luna's actually a pretty cool character, and they do some really good stuff with her. I will say, though, at least basically every Luna episode is actually good. Yes, I did, actually, Weads. I agree. So, first of all, did anyone else hear them in the Hall of the Mountain King during the intro? We ain't never gonna stop. Oh, sorry. It's the only good thing to come out of the movie. Some of you will get that. Star Swirl the Bearded is first mentioned here. The first of many times Star Swirl the Bearded will be mentioned. Interesting. Also, an extremely minor point, but I absolutely want to give credit where credit is due. While Twilight is moving around this whole episode, there's this really faint jingle, 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 jingle going in the background. Which makes sense, because she has bells on her thing. Good sound design. Props to that. So, I have a bunch of thoughts on this episode. This is a good one, if it's not obvious. I like this one. First thought, I've never really thought about this before, but Halloween is kind of a potluck, isn't it? At least if you have a good neighborhood. And Lord knows Ponyville is basically a good neighborhood. Because the whole idea is everyone buys a little bit of something and then everyone combines it together and you get one big thing. Which is why, you know, back... Oh, God, when was that? That would have been... 7th grade, I think? I remember... It was the last real time I went Halloweening as a Halloweener. And I dressed up as Gemini Man from Mega Man 3. What? But it was this huge neighborhood. And so everybody there was doing it. And in fact, we ran out of time, basically, because it was just that large of a neighborhood. And as we were going through, by the end of it, I had this gargantuan thing of candy. And I remember thinking how sad I felt because nobody else got to go to this gargantuan freaking urban sprawl neighborhood of awesome and do Halloween, right? Then, first time my niece did Halloween, and it was a much smaller neighborhood, like a fifth, if not smaller, the size. She still got a gigantic thing of candy because every single house was doing it. So, and of course she's adorable. She usually dresses up as like a mermaid or something similar. Anyways, so we find out about, this is the first episode Pipsqueak really becomes a character too. So we've got Luna and we've got Pipsqueak, both really introduced in this episode. Also, we find out that Pipsqueak is from Trottingham. Ha. But it also helps to explain why he has that posh accent. I forget the exact name for it, but you know, the British accent. And Pinkie Pie is dressed as a rooster. We'll get back to that. So Rainbow Dash is, of course, using lightning striking as a prank. What's funny is Rainbow Dash's pranking has already come up, and will come up again in the future. I just wanted to comment on the fact that they're kind of establishing right now that she hasn't... Oh my god! That she's... Basically, the lesson that's going to be coming up in the future is pretty well established here. Because she's... There's a bit where she's pranking people, and Twilight's like, hey, what are you doing? You hurt poor Spike, and her response is, who cares? That's actually going to be the plot of a future episode. So I just laying the seeds there. There's a lot of pictures of Nightmare Moon as they're going through, which is actually very cute. Applejack is, of course, a scarecrow. There's an Egyptian pony, which looked really cool. The mayor is a clown, of course. An evil clown with pink hair. And poor Muffins, or Derpy, if you prefer. As she's, like, she goes in and pulls out the plug accidentally, and it's like, oh, sadness. And yes, Tabitha St. Germain continues to be amazing, but I haven't gotten to Luna yet. I'm glad you liked it, Lieutenant Leroy. It's a good show. It's just, That's why I agreed to cover it in the first place, because it's a good show and there's a lot to talk about. Like, this is basically full rumination material, as far as I'm concerned. The rainbows, what... God, it's that stupid wig. So, I somewhat wonder what they did before the ponies had actually accepted Zecora. And I know this was done unintentionally, but I think it's actually quietly brilliant that Zecora is such a part of Nightmare Night. I'll talk about why later. Just keep that in mind. So, I love the world building of this. One of the things I've always enjoyed about fiction is when they take a real world holiday and then they transplant it into the fictional world in a way that makes sense. Like if it was just Halloween, it wouldn't make sense, right? But instead it's Nightmare Night. And the whole point is that, she's been sealed in the moon for the last 999 years or whatever. Basically ever since the previous year. Yeah, I know, whatever. And, that's just been a regular part of their lives for generations upon generations. So it makes sense. It makes sense that this would be something that they would celebrate and as part of their thing. She might come and gobble you up, so we need to give her a piece of our candy. And that's why we've got to blah, 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 right? Like, I like that. I like that transference. To use another example, World of Warcraft, that is to say, Azeroth, actually does a pretty decent job of translating most holidays into Azeroth and making them make sense. All Hallows Eve, which is the World of Warcraft Halloween, is actually the celebration of the day the Forsaken broke free from the Lich King. And so, and there's this whole thing about how they celebrate. But I like that. I like that. It's good world building. It's a good thing because it adds one hook of, yes, this is the chair, Dakota. I'm trying out not having the green screen because it's pissing me off. Maybe when I get a good lighting setup and when I get a new house, when I get a proper studio, which will never happen. So I like the idea of doing that and making it make sense and doing that kind of world building and blah, blah, blah. No, this is not a new chair. Here, listen. You can tell this is the same chair. It has been the same chair for a little over a year at this point. So, hang on, I'll get to that, Lieutenant Leroy, because that's actually a good point. So Tabitha St. Germain obviously plays Luna, and does a very, very good job of it, of course. You'll notice this is Luna's second episode. I mean, she had a couple of showcasings earlier, but basically it was the beginning episode, Nightmare Moon, and then here. You'll also notice Luna, speaking specifically here, looks completely differently than she did in the second episode. Which makes sense, but I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, so she's that's why I said this is the episode that really introduces Luna to the show, because it is. I really sympathize with her here. Obviously, I don't have a personal direction feeling of whatever of what she's going through, because there's not a literal holiday dedicated towards me being evil yet. But the point is, oh my god, I sympathize so hard with her. Let's move forward before I get into that. It is appropriate that Twilight is the one that reaches out to her. And when she goes and reaches out to her, notice that Luna is literally sitting in Twilight Moon's shadow. That is to say, the shadow of the statue. Oh yeah, we're going to get some... Season 2 introduces quite a few popular ponies, if memory serves. Although there will be ones later. Starlight Glimmer isn't in the show. Discord was introduced. And there was another one. The changeling, whose name I can't think of. He doesn't show up for a while. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. Again. Twilight reaching out to her makes perfect sense. The big reason why is because Twilight herself is someone who would probably be in Luna's shoes under other circumstances. I don't mean literally as in, there would be a holiday dedicated towards Twilight being evil. I mean, Twilight, until recently, didn't know how to react to, interact with, or talk with people. She didn't have any friends, not really. And she didn't have anything going on. And neither does Luna. How many of you think Luna hasn't been visiting other people's dreams, or, this is my headcanon, has been watching other people's dreams, but not interacting with them, just hands-offing up until now? We know she starts doing this. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is Season 2 when we see that for the first time. Let me scroll ahead here a little bit. I might be wrong. She does that in the future. It might be Season 3 when she does that for the first time. But yeah, no, I think she's been hands-offing. I think she's been watching but not being willing to interact with people like she will later do. I don't think she could have done that as Nightmare Moon at all, Lord Harrimont. Yeah, the Scootaloo one. That's the one I'm thinking of, Zachariah. But I mean, like, since the beginning of Season 1. She's been Luna for a bit now. I know we're not supposed to think of these as years, but I'm just going to do that. So, for roughly a year, she's been Luna. So, I mean, for what's she been doing for the last year? Well, like I said, I don't think she's actually been interacting with people. There's this bit. She's completely out of date. She has no idea how to act. She has no idea how to talk with people. Again, Twilight connection, fish out of water, blah, blah, blah. But if you're paying attention, and I hope you are, several people are legitimately unsure if that's Luna or Twilight Moon. Or Nightmare Moon, sorry. And don't really know how to distinguish the two. Even Spike is like, no, that's Nightmare Moon. And it has to be Twilight. It says, no, it's not. It's Luna. I saw her get released. And then Twilight goes and talks to her. And this is a very key little point. You are... well, first of all, she might recognize the Starlight, the Glimmer. Star Swirled, the Bearded. God, I'm getting all my names mixed up here. Second of all, though, she recognizes her as Twilight. And Twilight's like, so, yeah, I'm the one who broke you out. And that's a good thing, right? That one made me think a bit. Again, obviously this is to introduce to the audience the character of Luna, which means we have to firmly distance Luna to Nightmare Moon. Duh. But, as Aethel points out, as all these characters are, and as all these characters are making indicated, most of them don't even know Nightmare Moon isn't a thing anymore, really. This isn't just Luna's introduction to us, the audience, it's her introduction to the people. And a very important one. That's why I think after this, she feels comfortable actually reaching out to people in their dreams. Because now she feels like she can do so without shame and guilt and fear, which will also come up in a future episode, by the way. Luna has some good damn episodes. I was just thinking about that. Oh yeah, real quick reminder. Suicide. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way. So, we've established who Luna is, we've established that she's good, we've established that she prefers to be this way, and then she goes to see Fluttershy. Now, Fluttershy being locked in makes perfect sense, and will also be a plot point more than once in the future, but is also pretty logical, so cool, that's established. I love the bit where she's like, how are we talking now? Is this good? Okay. How about this? Okay. And now this? Okay. Please don't kill me. I love it. I mean, Fluttershy is always adorable, but oh my gosh. Fluttershy and Luna on the same screen is too much adorableness. This whole episode, I made a note towards the end of my notes. I could have just quoted half the episode, because there's a lot of really adorableness in this episode. Perfect, listen over, Mike. Thank you so much for... Now, clearly they will not... She's just the completely catatonic Fluttershy, flinging her over her shoulder. Then Pinkie Pie. Can I just admit that I really actually get pissed at Pinkie Pie this episode? Like, I do really like this episode. It's among my favorites in Season 2, but Pinkie Pie just makes me want to slug her. Because she makes everything worse every time she shows up. Like, 3 major times, Luna's making progress, and then Pinkie Pie ruins it. And then Luna makes progress, and then Pinkie Pie ruins it, and then Luna makes progress, and then Pinkie Pie ruins it. Yeah, actually, legitimately, Lord Harrimont. Someone in chat earlier mentioned that Pinkie Pie is a little bit too in character, in roleplay here, and I completely agree. I get it, Pinkie. I do. But... limits! Limits, right? Oh my god, she's ripped out Fluttershy's soul, run! And yeah, that Rainbow Dash is the final one who ruins it. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, the note I say here is that she makes everything work at every turn in the interest of fun. I'll come back to that. I also mentioned in my notes, you know, again, Luna's new, blah, blah, blah. I've already talked about all that. Talked about the dreams thing. I said I wouldn't quote half the episode, but the fun has been doubled! Hi. Hi, I'm the Lore Runner, And I like adorable things, and I'm not ashamed of that, because she's so cute. We like this fun. Let us engage in other fun. God. So this, of course, then leads to the final time where Pinkie freaks out, which gets everyone to freak out. And for the first time, Luna actually gets angry. Like, up until now, she's just been kind of discouraged. This pisses her off. Like, there's even this bit... I was going to debate that with you guys, Ethel. There's this bit where she rescues Pint Size and pulls him out, and she's like, "That is a lie. Your hindsight is completely untouched and not gobbled. Look at that. Screw you." And then she actually stomps her foot down, and lightning happens, and you get to see a little bit of what Princess Magic can do, because she's actually angry. And of course, this is Ponyville. And we've already established Ponyville tends to freak out over little things, like a zebra. Again, I think this was done very much unintentionally. This is why I love the inclusion of Zecora here, because it helps to showcase an insight into the mentality of these people, and frankly to show a little bit of the hypocrisy of the nature of how these people tend to think. They were completely terrified of Zecora until someone reached out to Zecora and was like, "Oh," and then they accepted her immediately. And now they're doing the exact same thing with Luna. Yeah, the parallels are real. Now, Weouds is absolutely correct. Later on, Ponyville will stop with the whole freakout thing, and it'll just become a Tuesday for them. In fact, that'll become the new running gag. But for now, they're still at the freakout phase. I have a theory, personally. I have no idea if anyone else has this theory, that... I'm not really connected to MLP fandom on purpose, I might add. So I don't actually know what theories are really out and about there. But I theorize that the main reason Ponyville grows a layer of skin, to put it simply, is because of the fact that the main six, Twilight moves there and the adventures happen and they just kind of get used to it, Anyways. Hi, Tazara. So, in her anger, she gives a decree. One of the only decrees Luna ever gives, if I'm not mistaken, which is... wrong hand. Sorry, it would actually be this hand. Nightmare Night is over. It's interesting to showcase, because immediately after that, despite everyone freaking out before, they're all like, "Aw," and they're all sad, and I have to point this out. There's a pony who's dressed as a Viking with a giant shark biting him. There were a lot of good costumes, but the Egyptian pony and the being bitten by a shark pony both amused me, and I had to comment on them. Anyways. So, yeah, I don't blame her at all, Vigilant. This so drives it home for her. Twilight's like, "I'm going to do what I do best. Lecture her." It goes over. And then Twilight's like, "No, you don't understand. People love this night." And Luna's response, which I wrote down, yeah, I did notice that act, is, "Yes, I can tell by all the adoring shrieks of the children as they run away." And that really drives it home. In many ways, this is the beginning of Luna's character arc, which will be concluded in an awesome episode later, in Luna's Dream episode. That's much later. It's like season 5, I think. But we see how much it has been bothering her to be hated and feared. And then she goes here hoping to reach out to people and be like, no, it's okay, we'll turn this into a better thing. And then everyone hates and fears her, or at least that's the way she perceives it. See, the thing is, though, she can't see how people being afraid of her is a good thing. It's like a roller coaster ride. How many of you like roller coasters? I do. I actually love roller coasters. I haven't been in a while, unfortunately, but last time I went was actually with my niece, and she loved it too. She had to sit in my lap, so I'm holding her like this, make sure she was, secure, and and she was just loving it. It was great. Well, that's because they're dumb, act. No, we'll get there when we get there. Again, I do try to distance myself from MLP fandom for the same reason I distance myself from Undertale fandom. I love Undertale, but the fandom is not something I want to be a part of. So, yeah, roller coasters. The whole point of a roller coaster, really, is it's exhilarating. You've got the motion, you've got the speed, and you've got the fear. But it's not real fear. That's basically the wrong word. It's more of a thrill. Very good word, Sean. I like that word. Because you know you're safe. And you're subjecting yourself to it. Key point. This is something I've been thinking about a lot recently when it comes to psychology and preferences in general. We as people are substantially more okay with things if it is our choice to subject ourselves to it. Last night, after watching the movie with my friends and family, we went to Chinese, and I got, I don't remember what it's called, but it's really, really, really spicy dried beef. Now, I love that, because I love spicy food. But that's my choice. Imagine if someone in Chad who doesn't like spicy food, or has, geographic tongue or something, was forced to eat that incredibly spicy food. It was no longer in your control. What if I no longer had the choice, and I had to eat that every day? When we are deliberately subjecting ourselves to things that we want, we tend to enjoy them substantially more. I mean, this sounds like such a duh, but this explains so much of human society, in my opinion. I mean, you wouldn't actually want to be in Fallout, would you? I mean, I don't even have to explain this to you guys. You guys play video games. Right? You don't want to actually be in Alien Isolation, do you? To continue the fear trend. Or how about Prey, to use another one? Right? No, of course not. So the idea here that the episode posits, and it's a good one, is there's nothing wrong with fear under the right circumstances. Sometimes being scared can be fun. And she's right. Now, Pinkie still pisses me off, but she is the one to deliver that message, to make it very clear that, I'm not actually afraid. Why would I actually be afraid? There's nothing to actually fear. This drives it home for Twilight, and of course then for Luna, which leads to the plan. Okay, we keep trying to dam the river. Let's try writing it down instead. And so, instead she plays along with it, just like Zecora did at the beginning. And there's that other parallel I wanted you to remember Zecora for. Because if you remember, Zecora at the beginning kept making all these illusions with her powder magic, pseudo-alchemical magic thing, in order to simulate, oh my god, here's Nightmare Moon. Well, now Nightmare Moon is actually using magic to actually transform herself into actually doing it, and doing the same thing. And in so doing, she becomes acceptable. Because, duh, basically, There's this really, I mentioned the adorable thing earlier. There's this bit where Pipsqueak is running back. She said, yes, guys. And in the distance, we just hear a bunch of kids going, yay! And then we have a bit of a montage and a letter and, Luna enjoying herself and blah, blah, blah. I like this episode. I do. I also kind of like how everything isn't perfectly better by the end, as weird as that may sound. Luna basically, this is, and I said this is Luna's establishing episode, Luna has to come to grips with the fact that she is a part of being the Nightmare Moon thing. She doesn't get her way. She doesn't succeed. What she does is changes her goalposts. She changes her direction and then succeeds at that. Yeah, I liked how Luna actually needed the fangs to do that. That was kind of cute. And then, so now we have two things to debate really quick. First of all, we do have one continuity, which is, this is the obvious one. It's for Luna. But, so we'll go ahead and up the continuity counter here a bit. This episode will actually be referenced many times in the future, though. So we're going to have, this episode is going to birth a lot of continuity counters in the future. I think this is a wah-wah. Rainbow Dash is like, I'm going to shock you. And then Rainbow Dash gets shocked by Luna. And then they all laugh and laugh and laugh a little bit too long so that we can do the fade out. And then we go to credits. That, again, it's the sitcom thing. It's a total wah-wah. I think that counts, personally. I'm just going to count it and be done with it. But does this count as Ponyville being damaged? With the freak out and, oh my god, and there was like, the thing was rolling along and they knocked over the thing of the apples. Does that count as Ponyville being damaged? It's kind of a minor example, but what do you think? I mean, the festival definitely got damaged. No one's arguing that one. Ponyville got emotional damage. The most terrifying damage of all. That's a good quote, Kira White Noise. I like that. Yeah, I feel like this doesn't quite count. Tell you what, why don't we make this half? We're just switching over to numbers here. So we're at 1.5 Ponyville damages. How's that sound? I'll just turn all these into numbers here and just say screw it. So we've got half of a Ponyville damaged. So with that, I think that's everything for the episode. Good episode, good episode. Let's go ahead and chop off this.